Hello, Richard from budgetguitarist.com, the website. Today is just a quickie video. I'm going to go over 10 tools that you absolutely positively have to have if you want to be able to do your own guitar setup. And I've got them on the table in front of me, and you might actually notice that there's not 10 here, there's 11. Well, and that is because when I actually put this set together for this video, I couldn't leave anything out. So I'm still calling it 10, but I'm going to cheat and lump 2 of them together, okay? With that out of the way, let's get started. Some of these items have Amazon affiliated links down below. Not all of them do. I'm not going to give you an Amazon link for a screwdriver because that would be foolish. But some of the weirder stuff like this one and this one, you can find links below. I'm going to try to make this a super short video because that's what people like. Item number 1, soldering iron. If you have a loose wire inside of your guitar, say you've got a Strat or say you've got a Les Paul, Epiphone Les Paul or whatever, if a pickup wire comes loose from one of the pots, one of the volume knobs or tone knobs, it's fairly easy to solder it back on. Basic soldering is something that is very, very valuable skill for guitar players to have. Used to be, you go into Radio Shack and buy something that looked just like this part right here, and it would be one temperature, which was usually either too hot or not hot enough. Then for a couple of $100s, you could get a Weber or a really expensive one that had a temperature gauge. But these days, you can get an inexpensive soldering iron with a temperature control, which you can see down here. Got a link for this in the description below. 2, Big Ben's nut sauce. Okay, despite the humorous name, this is basically a lubricant, and you're supposed to use it on your guitar wherever the string comes into contact with something where it might stick. Perfect example, nut, which is why they call it Big Ben's nut sauce. So on a Les Paul, one of the criticisms is that the G string comes up and instead of continuing to go a straight path, it breaks off at an angle. Sometimes when you're tuning this string or when you're bending this string, the string will get caught in the nut. That's where this comes in. Also, if you have like a trem system, this can come in handy. This is expensive for what it looks like, but honestly, you can use this for like 10 years. Like you only need a teeny bit. Well worth the money. There are cheap knockoffs, don't. Just get the good stuff that the pros get. 3, string cutters. I'm not going to give you an Amazon link for string cutters. Obviously, this is for when you put the strings on so that you can trim them so you don't have strings going everywhere, poking you in the eye when you're trying to do a gig. 4, this is the combo pack. It's really 2 items. This is a capo and a set of feeler gauges. So when you are adjusting the straightness of your neck, traditionally someone will use an 8/1000th of an inch or a 10/1000th of an inch feeler gauge, and they'll put this on the 1st fret, they'll hold down their finger on the last fret, and they'll use the feeler gauge at the 8th fret to check. I did a 3-part video on how to set up and maintain an Epiphone Les Paul. If you want to see how to do it, go check out that video series. But basically, feeler gauges and capo. 1, 2, 3, 4. That would make this 5. If I count correctly, I hope so. Phillips head screwdriver, small, because you're going to need to adjust the heights of your pickups from time to time. You might need to, if you have a Strat or a Squire, take off the pick guard. If for some stupid reason you've got pickups that use a flathead, then you're also going to need like a super small flathead. But again, I'm not going to Amazon link for a screwdriver. Optivisor. So if you've got a set of like reading glasses, you know, that magnify, you might be able to get away with something like that, but this is better. When you need to look at the last item on our list, which has got a really, really teeny tiny ruler, or when you want to look at your frets and really see, are they scratched up? Are the fret ends sharp? then it's good to have something like this optivisor. So basically, although it does look foolish, you can see things in great magnification, and it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're old like me, then this is like a must-have. And even if you're young, you probably should just pick up a set of these. I've got lights on each side of this that I can turn on, but you know, there's less expensive alternatives. 7, string winder. This one's black. I don't actually recommend using a black string winder. What I recommend is buying a bright orange one, because inevitably you will lose a black string winder on the floor in some club or some bar, or you know, wherever, dark room, studio. If it's black, you're going to lose it. If it's bright orange, more likely to find it. You can also buy one of those things for a cordless screwdriver it's like this piece right here, but it goes on the cordless screwdriver. If I can find that link, I'll put it below. That's what I normally use, but this is a StewMac fret end file. Now this is super, super important. There are plenty of small files, but this file is very, very specific. On the bottom, it's rounded and it's smooth. On the top, it's flat and it's smooth. And then the file is on both sides, and it's a very dull file, and that's intentional. And this is really designed for working on the ends of frets, hence the name. So if you've got any sharp frets kind of poking out, this is the best tool in the world. Almost every single guitar repair pro uses this exact same file. And there are some other big channels that also recommend this, but I actually got this on recommendation from Stuart McDonald, and this thing will last you years and years and years and years. It's a little expensive for what it is, but it's well worth the money because there's no better fret end file on the planet. And it's dull enough that you don't have to, you know, as long as you work slowly and carefully, you won't get into too much trouble. And it's amazing. Number 9, Hex Wrench. Your guitar would have come with one of these to adjust the truss rod. If for some reason it didn't, well, my recommendation would be that you buy a set of these, because you can buy them fairly cheap. Fairly cheaply, I should say. So you're going to need that. And then finally, my favorite, the Baroque String Action Ruler. This is specifically for adjusting your action. And so it's got the metric system on one side, it's got thousandths of an inch on the other. Again, if you watch my 3-part series on setting up an Epiphone Les Paul, I show you like close-up camera work on how to use this, but this is relatively inexpensive and it is super, super important. And you might think, well, why can't I just like adjust by feel? Well, you can, but then, you know, a week later you play it and it seems like the action's a little high or a little low, because our perceptions change over time. But also, these things are made out of wood, and wood can move. How are you going to know? How are you going to know that it's not just the mood you're in one day? Or you get it set up perfect and you say, man, I always want it to be set up just like this. Well, this is a really good way, because you can go in and within a couple thousandths of an inch, you can document the height of each string by using this at the 12th fret, exactly how high you want it. And it's just amazing. It's also got a chart on the back for roughly what the action should be. It's got a range, and it's got a range for electric, acoustic, and bass. So super handy, relatively inexpensive. So there you go. That was the 10 tools that I think you need if you want to be able to do your own guitar setup and kind of maintain your own guitars. It's actually 11 tools, but just pretend it's 10. YouTube likes 10. So thank you very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. Click the like, click the bell, leave me a nice comment, and I will see you again next Friday hit 5.